All right, a couple minutes to play with before we get out of here on a Wednesday. Good stuff from Thomas Cornflake Lamanna. Always like to go back and forth. Good banter with him. Feisty fighter. And listen, it's boxing, right, Rob? We agree to disagree. I mean, I've had arguments with fighters before, promoters, managers. It's subjective the way you score it. My point was this. I love the fact that he wants that rematch against Dusty Hernandez-Harrison, but I'm thinking from Harrison's camp, they won a UD. I did not think the fight was close. I don't see the benefit, but again, you have to like a fighter for wanting that rematch. There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, no, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but also, you know, like you said, why would he go back? And, you know, like I said to him, you know, when you do go back, what are you going to do that's going to, like, basically, it's like two horses.
It's like Santa Cruz and Frampton. What are you going to do different?
Yeah, what are you going to do? It's like two horses. What are you going to do to make you cross that finish line first? And, like I said, I think Thomas is a young fighter, and I think that he can really, you know, get better. As far as Frampton and Santa Cruz, yeah. I just think that, you know, from my vantage point, I just thought that Frampton, you know, really dug deep. And I just think that, you know, there are some fighters that are able to do that night after night, but there's other fighters that basically the performance that you saw was something that you saw, not to something that you're going to see ever again.
You think this type of fight, I think if anything, if Santa Cruz can steal a couple of those first rounds, put a lot more pressure on Frampton, you know he's going to press the action, you know he's a high volume puncher. I think this is a fight that's center of the ring in the phone booth. They're going to exchange, and again, it wouldn't shock me if it went to the scorecards again in a close decision, but I think this time around, I think there's a couple different things that Santa Cruz took away from that first fight, and I think he had Frampton, he had him gassed. Now, as you alluded to sometimes, and Dwight Quawi alluded to it, that fighter has to find it within himself to dig a little deeper. And I think if he presses the action a little more, he builds up those rounds, builds a little equity. I think that puts all the pressure on Frampton to try to get that stoppage.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just think about it. Santa Cruz was the rising guy. Well, not only the rising guy, but basically the favorite who they thought that they was going to win. It could be one of those things if he believed his own press clippings and he just basically didn't put in the effort that take him to get him over the top. This time around, I think that you're going to see the best Santa Cruz, and if the best Santa Cruz comes, we don't know how that fight is going to change. I know from a Frampton standpoint, I know he doesn't hope that the best Santa Cruz is going to come. He hopes that Santa Cruz still feels that he's the superior fighter, but at the same time, only a fool would have the mentality because you lost already. So Santa Cruz right now, he went back to the drawing board. And now we're going to see, like I said, we as fans, we're the ones that are going to benefit from this because this should be a good fight.
It's a great card, too.
No matter who wins. Yes, Mikey Garcia.
That's right.
I wanted to touch on Mikey Garcia.
Yes.
He's had his promotional issues, but now that's ironed out. Now he's fighting for a lightweight championship. And shall I say it, because boxing is not like...
How about Garcia, though? Even with that time off, he still comes back and he doesn't look like he's... That's incredible.
Well,
he doesn't look like
that's a disciplined fighter, and that's a fighter that's going to have longevity in this sport. There are a lot of fighters who, when they're not fighting, they're basically not fighting. You know, Mike Tyson said one time, he said that they asked him about a fight that was coming up. He said, well, the difference between them and me is this. When I'm off, I'm off. Mm-hmm. I don't think that Mikey Garcia was off. Mikey Garcia was on, knowing that he's going to get back in that ring one day, and once he gets back in that ring, he wants to be just as good as he was before he left. Mm-hmm. And if the Mikey Garcia that we all know and love to a certain degree, if that Mikey Garcia comes to fight, I think that we're going to have a new world champion.
And then Saturday, you and I will both be at the Claridge. As we just mentioned, you've got the Lamanna card, and you got some good prospects on that with Holden and Bowser, and you got the veteran Masaccio, so we look forward to that one. All right, before we get out of here, a couple things. We'll talk more about this next week, but a little we'll go corner to corner, a little rapid fire for you. You've got the Thurman-Garcia fight. You heard everything that Angel Garcia said during the press conference. Again, if it's me, I don't allow him to work that fight. I suspend him. I think some of his comments were beyond out of line. I think they were ignorant. I think you can't have that in boxing, let alone life. If that's how he really thinks, keep him the heck away from the sport. I get it. He's outlandish. He's braggadocious. He says a lot of stuff to take pressure off his son, but what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. And he just overstepped his boundaries and the line.
But I think also, I mean, even though it's father-son and it's fighter-trainer, I think Garcia, the fighter, has to tell his father to chill a little bit. Do I think that he should be banned? The WBC.
I don't think there's a place for that in boxing. There's not.
WBC is already, they banned him from the next press conference, and I think that he should definitely be severely reprimanded. Should he be banned? I don't know, because the fact that he has trained with this fighter all this time, whatever. There'll be a certain a disadvantage if they go in the ring. Definitely, I think, like I said, severely reprimanded to the point where it's like, never, this should never happen again. Something, not a slap on the hand, but should it be banned? I'm not going to go that far. Should be banned from the fight? I'm not going to go that far. But at the same time, severely reprimanded, yes, because there's not any place for that in boxing.
I'm going to go further. I'm going to say he should not be able to work that fight. I don't care if Danny Garcia is his son or not. I think what the comments were so asinine and they were so out of place. There's no spot for that in the world of boxing. And if that's how you really think, so be it. Do it somewhere else. Don't do it in the ring. Don't do it in press conferences, because it gives the sport that much more of a black eye. We mentioned.
I think to a certain degree, I think that he knows how much of an ass he's made of himself, and hopefully, because
but that only incites the opposition. You're not helping your son in that regard, putting all the pressure on you and saying those comments and putting it on you. You're not helping.
Again, that's where Danny needs to step up and say, "Dad, chill." Because this is not the first time that he said something outlandish, but at the same time, the level of outlandishness that he went to this time, it's crazy. And because he was never reprimanded before, that creates a person that's going to get worse and worse. This time around, they have to put it in his ear that we're not going to tolerate this.
Set the precedent. All right, last one for you. We mentioned ESPN, Golden Boy Promotions. It looks like they'll set up for 42 fights. And again, kind of crystal ball as we start to wrap it up. Do you think this will have a good impact potentially with ESPN coming back down to Atlantic City? We're not going to get, I don't think you're going to get big time names, but as long as you can get De La Hoya promoting and working hand in hand with ESPN, I think there's potential for some good fights down here.
Well, quite honestly, we're harping on Atlantic City, and I definitely love the Atlantic City, trying to build Atlantic City up, but at the same time, that contract that he signed.
It's a great move.
Well, it's a great move, but it's not only Atlantic City. I think it's a great move for boxing.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. I was just thinking from a local angle. Look, are we going to get a Lemieux and Johnson and Ali and Ellis?
Maybe. You never know.
Maybe.
Yeah, you never know. And so if that does happen, kudos for us. And, I think that we can put Atlantic City back on the map. But moreover than anything, I just think that, with all the people coming out and saying negative things about boxing or whatever, I just think that boxing needs a boost. And, having it on ESPN, NBC's, the CBS, Showtime, HBO, that's exposure, and just as long as the fights are quality, I think that boxing is going to get a kick that it definitely needs. It's going to get a kick that everybody knows. Basically, bottom line, I want boxing to be back on the front pages, not in the back.
Last one for me, rapid fire to you. Answer this in about 15 to 20 seconds if you can. Biggest takeaway from the Dwight Quawi interview?
Well, this interview right here.
Yes.
Greatness. I think that greatness, toughness. I think that Qawi is a fighter that, where other fighters, they do have setbacks. That's why I said about Thomas. I love fighters who have setbacks, who get back on the horse. He's not only done that as far as from a boxing standpoint, but he also did that as far as from his life standpoint. And,
yes.
and him going back to Rollway prison, a prison that he was into. That's something, in itself, a head trip that I'm fighting. In the place that I did time in or whatever. I think that he's definitely somebody that I've always respected him, and I've known him for years, and I think that he's a great fighter.
And we appreciate him and Thomas Cornblake Lamana jumping on board. Don't forget Hall of Fame weekend, Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame weekend in May. Tickets, rooms, all the information is going to become available on the Claridge Hotel, Claridge website as well. Also on the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame website next week. So give yourself about a week or two. You'll get all the information. May 26th to the 28th. You got tickets, rooms, reservations, everything. It's going to be a wonderful weekend. It's really going to preserve the rich history of Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame. As we start to close it up, don't forget, you guys keep it locked into TriX57.com. Don't forget to follow the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame on Twitter as well as Facebook. Like them on Facebook. I will see you Saturday night at the fights.
Also, I want to say,
yes.
Log into our blog post. It's acbhof.com. wordpress.com.
Okay.
We have a blog in which I actually want people to, because boxing is not only about fighters, it's about trainers.
Sure, managers, the promotion, everything.
Everybody. I want those guys to also log in and also reach out to us so we can get content, because we want to hear their stories
Absolutely.
as well. So bottom line is, like I said, acbhof.wordpress.com. Definitely reach out.
And when they disagree with us, they can argue.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure it'll be more or less with me.
No
but
doubt.
yeah, exactly. Another show in the books. Good stuff as always, my friend. I'll see you Saturday night at the Lamana card. And again, special thanks to our good friends at TriX57.com. Coming at you as we do every Wednesday from TriX57.com, Playground at the Pier, the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame. We always want to preserve the rich history of boxing where it comes alive. Don't forget, next Wednesday, we'll be back in the saddle, 7-8 for Rob Scott and Rich Quinones. And as always, Double Jab Podcast powered by the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame. We'll talk to you next week. We'll see you next time ringside.